Whittaker Weekly is a 3-episode anime discussion podcast where two brothers discuss a show of their choice. The show can be anything from a current season flop to a decades-old classic. What are they going to talk about next? Who knows? They sure don't. Welcome to Whittaker Weekly. My name is Andrew.
My name is Lee.
And let's get right into it. Since you have your document open and I don't, how about you start off with the news?
All right. So, this week, I would notice some marketing for a new anime movie coming out called Fireworks, from the same producer as Your Name.
Oh, the same producer?
The same producer.
Ooh.
Then I read it a little bit further into it, and then I found out that it was, but just because it's the same producer, it's not the same director. It's going to be a different art style, different everything. So, but no, there's this show's coming out called Fireworks, and it looks to be really entertaining. It looks absolutely stunning.
Did they release a trailer for it already?
Yes, they have.
Nice.
Yes, they have, and we'll link the trailer in the description.
Nice. I'll take a look at that once we get done. Something that's been released this last week for Dungeons and Dragons is a little bit off anime topic, but the news segment we kind of talk about just things that pique our interest. Haha. So you realize that I recorded that entire intro with the mic on the opposite side.
Yeah, so it's going to have a very tinny, old-timey style to it. It's perfect.
Okay, well, all right then. Okay, we just realized that the mic that we're using was only recording one side rather than both channels. Whoops. Anyways, hopefully the quality is a bit better for you guys now. But just this last week, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes was released.
Wow.
And Mordenkainen, those of you who are familiar with D&D lore and stuff like that, he's one of the Circle of Eight, one of the 8 great wizards who, like Bigsby and all those other ones, they're the ones who have their names in the spell book.
Right.
Like Bigsby's Hand, or Big Blah, the name's not coming out for some reason. And then
Mordecai's Mystical Watchdog.
Yeah, or Mordenkainen's Mystical Manor or something like that.
There's that old skit about, where are the Cheetos? He talks about that spell.
Oh, gosh.
His name comes up, so.
Yep, it's true. Where are the Cheetos? In the kitchen.
Do you have any Mountain Dew?
In the fridge! Gosh, that is old. Anyways, so they released that, and a lot of people were thinking that it's just going to be more monsters, like more monsters and stuff. And there is more monsters, but they also added some more playable races, but I've been going through it, and at the very beginning they did something that I absolutely love, and I can't wait to incorporate this into my own games. They give you a history of the Blood War. And the Blood War is, the way that D&D works is there's the material realm, there's the astral plane, which is pretty much all of reality. There is the Feywild, there is the Shadowfell, which are like mirrors of each other, and then there are the elemental planes, fire, water, air, earth. All of those form around to make the the material plane, which is our world, which is the world the players exist in. Okay. And then there are the realms of the gods and other deities and creatures that exist outside of those planes, but they're like the realms of lawful good and chaotic evil, lawful evil, and things like that. Demons are chaotic evil, whereas devils are lawful evil, and devils come from the 9 hells, and demons come from the abyss. And they're constantly at war with each other. Devils believe that they should be the saviors and therefore the rulers of the entire universe, or of all of creation, simply because they have been keeping off the demonic hordes by themselves. And you have the 9 circles of hell, and it gives you like the organization, who rules over each circle and what each circle's purpose is. Okay. But one of the cool things about it is it also gives you cults for each of those circles of hells and people who worship the leaders of each of those circles and what powers those cults could have. So it's giving me a lot of really, really cool ideas. I don't want to go into it too much, but I run a couple of D&D games and I play in a couple. whenever I get new information like this, I just get so excited. Anyways, let's go on to our next bit of news.
All right. Next bit of news. Voltron, Defender of the Universe, the DreamWorks version that is a Netflix original. Season 6 is coming out June 15th. So we are 9 days away from another set of episodes.
Yeah, we're recording this on the 6th. So 9 days away, we have another set of episodes. I was talking to my friend Mary about it. She's a big Voltron fan. 7 episodes is what they're releasing this time.
7 episodes.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be 7 episodes.
Well, we had just gotten Netflix back this week, and we haven't seen... We've only just started into season 4.
Oh, geez, you guys are a few seasons behind.
We're a few seasons behind, and so we're catching up. But
okay.
we should be all caught up by the time this... by the time that new season comes out.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I mean, the seasons are only 6 or 7 episodes long. They're doing they're instead of releasing 13 to 26 episode seasons all at once, Voltron has historically started splitting their seasons up into smaller chunks, which makes more sense on a...
Netflix has been having them do that.
Yeah.
Netflix has been having them do that. They, rather than releasing the 13-episode seasons once or twice a year, they're having them release 6, 7-episode seasons 4 times a year.
Wow.
So, 6 or 7 episode, I mean.
Yeah.
So, that's what Netflix is having them do that, because Netflix knows that season is a seller. So, people who have left Netflix, like myself, are more than likely to come back. Sorry, I just realized the ringer for my cell phone was on. Yeah, so people like myself are more than likely to come back to watch, pay for a month of Netflix to watch a couple episodes of a show.
Fantastic.
I mean, I still have to watch season 3 of a series of unfortunate events as well.
I still haven't gotten past the first episode on that.
You are missing out because it is fantastic.
It is. There's just... I have to be in a certain mood, and it gets me depressed pretty quickly. I have to be in a certain mood to be able to handle that kind of...
Anyways, I'm very, very excited for Season 6 of Voltron, as are you, as are a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that's it for the news this week. We don't have much we want to talk about. We just kind of want to get right into it for 3 episodes in.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to go ahead and start.
And it was your choice this week, and what did you make us watch?
I forced us to watch At Gunpoint. Not really. I don't own a gun, or do I?
At Nerf Gunpoint?
At Nerf Gunpoint. I've got plenty of those. I made us watch Hinamatsuri.
Hinamatsuri. What a show.
And what a show it is. I've watched all 8 episodes that are out already. I just barely watched episode 8 today, but I went ahead and refreshed the first 3 episodes because that's what we're talking about today.
Right, and
but
I've only watched
I guess
the
I was
first
kind of
3
cheating
episodes.
a little bit simply because I picked a show that I absolutely adore. But anyways, Hinamatsuri, let's just get straight into it.
Okay. So the first episode, the very first scene of the very first episode starts with a redhead in a green gi or some kind of is it, I think it was.
It's not a gi. It's like a Chinese martial arts outfit.
It's Chinese, not Japanese, right?
It's Chinese.
Carrying a wood block that has a handle that looks like a guy's face, and she's beating the tar out of a dozen what look like Shaolin monks.
Yeah,
and one of them is about to pull out what they think is a weapon. She throws it at him, and he's like, "Ah, my cell phone!" It's like, their attire and the buildings around them are not cell phone time periods.
No.
And it's like, my phone.
But he doesn't just say, "Ah, my cell phone." He says it super dramatically, like, "Ah, my cell phone!"
Yes, that is exactly how he delivers that line. And then suddenly we see new... and then we see more Shaolin monks coming to beat her up. And she utters, "Oh, Hina, where are you?"
Or like, "Hina, I'm coming to save you."
Hang on, I'm coming to save you. And I'm glad that I rewatched that scene because I forgot about it. And she doesn't come into the first 3 episodes again. We just get a clip that says 3 years earlier. And then suddenly we're in the apartment of this Yakuza enforcer with incredibly expensive tastes. So he's a low-level boss. He's got underlings, but he's also
he's a high-level enforcer.
The
is
high
what
level,
he is.
yeah.
He's not really on the boss level yet.
Right. Well, he does have a couple people who call him boss, but that's about it. I noticed. But yeah.
Well, they call him Aniki, which is bro. So
okay.
yeah.
Okay. So he's sitting there enjoying his new million yen vase that he had acquired.
So $10,000.
$10,000 vase that he had acquired. And he's sitting there laughing maniacally at his wealth when
drinking I think it's champagne he's drinking or something.
It was a red. It was a red.
It was red wine.
wine.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it wasn't champagne. I guess my alcohol knowledge is a little fuzzy.
All I know is champagne is white, and that Fozzie Bear put a whole bunch of sugar in it. It says, "Hey, if you put enough sugar in the champagne, it tastes just like ginger ale." And
yes, he did do that.
It's a specialty drink that comes from one city or province in France called Champagne. So it gets its name from the one place in the world it comes from. Champagne.
It's pronounced champagne. Anyways.
So he's sitting there and he's enjoying and he's laughing, and then suddenly a interdimensional portal opens up above his head. He doesn't notice it until he doesn't even notice the portal at all. He just gets bonked on the head by a 3-foot large metal egg with a little girl face sticking out of it. And after standing there, punching his fist, punching the palm of his hand, getting ready to do something about this pain on the top of his head, he goes, "I'm just gonna pretend that didn't happen," and walks away.
Yeah, he sees this girl's face in the egg, and he's just like, let's pretend this didn't happen. He just walks away, and then the next morning is when he comes out, and that egg is still there with that girl's face, and she has just this deadpan face, like, whatever.
Yeah. So, and... why don't you go ahead with what happens next?
Okay. Well, what happens next, she asks for his help to get her out. There's a button on the back. And he pops her out. And the egg collapses inside of this red ball that's about the size of a fist.
Yeah.
And this girl stands up. She's got no clothes on. And she says, "Feed me." And he's like, "Well, you just can't come in here and start barking around, barking things, barking orders at me." And she then uses her telekinetic powers to pick up his brand new 1 million yen vase and smash it.
That one and 3 other things. She smashes 4 things all at once.
Just smashes them all. And he then freaks out. He's like, "Okay, fine. Don't do anything else." And because she bullies. She's this 13-year-old girl, and
bullying
she's bullying a yakuza into doing what she wants.
Yes.
She oh gosh. Anyways, one thing leads to another. She keeps breaking his stuff, and he keeps, he's like, "Well, go buy me clothing and stuff like that." And he says no, and then she threatens to break more of his stuff, and he's like, "Okay, fine." And they go out, and he spends a whole lot of money on things for her, like a stuffed animal, because she says she can't sleep without a stuffed bear, and later on she's like falling asleep on the couch with nowhere near the bear. She gets clothing and all this other stuff. They go to eat several times.
Yep. The fanciest restaurants, the best food.
And she discovers what ikura is. Ikura is fish eggs. It's the bright red fish eggs. That's kind of a running gag throughout the series. It turns out Hina loves ikura.
Yes, to the point where she where she will do things for ikura.
Yep. But he to the point where she will do a lot for just some ikura. Yes. We'll get to that later. That's in episode 2.
That is.
In episode 1, he tells her to stop using her powers. She needs to promise to not use her powers.
Yeah. And that she needs to start going to school.
And she wants to start going to school. And
that's
so
right.
He makes her, he gives her his last name, which is Nita. And and so she becomes Nita Hina, and she goes to school, and no idea why she wants to go to school because she just sleeps through classes all day, every day.
She does.
But he gets in trouble. Well, she actually starts to like him because where she's from, apparently, she kind of drops hints that adults pretty much just use her for her powers. And she's very happy to be away from that situation, as happy as Hina shows. Hina is very, very deadpan. Like, she does not show emotions very much.
She's the deadpan trope character.
But she, anyways, Nita, the Yakuza, he's at a meeting that day with some other Yakuza guys, and his boss tells him that we're trying to get this land taken care of, but no one is going to do the job for the price that's being offered.
Yeah.
So I want you to figure out what to do. And he's just like, man, how am I going to do this? And he comes home and he sees Hina floating in the air and pretty much all of his apartment floating as well. And he's like, what the crap? I thought you promised not to use your powers. And he's like, I did promise not to use my powers. This is what happens when I don't use them. They go crazy. And then all of a sudden the apartment explodes. So...
It's true.
So if she doesn't use her psychic powers, she loses control of them.
Yeah.
And so he realizes that they can go ahead and use her powers to do this land renovation project, chop down trees and stuff like that. So, but he sees it as a way of her just using her powers to use her powers.
Right.
And so he goes and has Hina just dig out these massive trees and fill in the holes and use her psychic powers to trim the trees perfectly so they're logs and line them up. And he's just like, this is amazing. This is so cool. And he gets and he doesn't get a promotion, but he gets like a bonus at work from the gang, and they all think he's amazing and stuff like that. But the boss has collapsed, and so the lieutenant now is in charge, and the lieutenant doesn't like Nita very much. He thinks he's a show-off. And the boss collapsed because of something apparently that happened with another Yakuza clan, because this Yakuza clan is moving in on their territory.
Right.
And so he sends Nita as a single man to go bring in the other group's boss. And so he goes off with Hina in his car to go take care of this thing. But he's sitting in the car being like, what on earth am I going to do? Like, I can't just go in there and get him. And Hina's just like, are you going to send me in to go kill him? And he's like, what? Don't be crazy. Like, why on earth would I send you in there? You're just a kid. That clicks something in Hina, because Hina was actually starting to feel that Nita was going to be another adult that's just using her for her powers, because she saw how excited he was after like the renovation project and stuff.
Yeah,
so she was starting to feel she was starting to feel like this is just going to be like it is everywhere else. But she after Nita says, no, this is something I've got to take care of, you're just a kid, she realizes, oh, so he's not that kind of person, I want to help him. And so she goes out and she says, so the guy you're after, he's just in there, right? And he's just like, yeah. And she gets out of the car and walks in. He's just like, Hina, what the crap? Hina, don't go in there. Hina, no. And he's like getting all super depressed. And all of a sudden you hear from the inside, hey, what are you doing in here, kid? And she's like, you're in my way. And all of a sudden, furniture and Yakuza members just start flying through the windows. And it's this 4-story office building.
Yes.
And they just, lights start breaking. And you don't see what's going on inside. You just see everything from Nita's perspective, or a close-up on Nita's face, and he's just got this amazing like look of absolute panic and fear at the same time, just because Hina is doing this so easily, and she's just, and you hear itai, and it's all just the exact same ouchie, ouchie.
And that's a running gag in the show.
And it's the exact. I love it because it's different actors doing it, but they all say it the exact same way.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how far from the building they're getting thrown. It's all just ouchie. And then she comes out with the Yakuza boss hanging in the air. And then they celebrate Nita's victory again, but he doesn't let him know that it's Hina.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of episode 1.
Right. Now, how does episode 1 end?
Episode 1 ends with Nita. Episode 1 ends with a freaking Terminator reference.
Yes.
Okay? Nita grabs the ball, that is still sitting on his floor, the ball that had the egg.
Yes.
He grabs it, and then it wraps him up in the
into the egg.
in the egg. And he needs to go to the bathroom, and he just can't. Like, Hina looks at him and decides that it's his turn to be out there for a while because she remembers him leaving her all night long in that thing.
Yeah.
And she just leaves him for the night, and he can't hold it anymore.
It's like he's been in there for 6 hours. He can't hold it anymore. And he pees inside the egg.
Mm-hmm. And then he's just like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to get out of this. And so he starts rocking back and forth, and he rolls wrong on accident. He rolls the wrong direction. He's trying to get it to where he hits the corner of his coffee table,
the button
with
on
the
the
button
back.
on the back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he goes the wrong way first, and then he goes and he rolls over the other way, and he finally hits it. And when he hits it, there's an explosion of light, and he comes out, and he's just come out of the shower, so he's naked except for a towel. When he first gets trapped into the ball.
Yes.
And so he comes out, and he's in the Arnold Schwarzenegger pose from when Arnold appears in Terminator for the first time.
Yes.
And
with a haze of yellow.
The haze of yellow steam, and like his towel has come off and stuff, and it's tasteful. You don't see anything. I mean, as tasteful as like a haze of pee can be. But Hina walks out, and she just goes, Terminator, but it's beeped out, so like they don't get in trouble for it.
Yes.
So
yes,
they episode 1 ends with a Terminator reference, and episode 2 starts with a Terminator reference, it's amazing.
Good. It's so good. All right, so the new character we're being introduced to, her name is Anzu. Mm-hmm. Tell us how Anzu gets introduced.
Oh my gosh. Anzu is another girl from wherever Hina is from.
Yes.
It seems like they're from the far future or something.
Yes, they seem to be time traveling.
We don't really know what it is, but they're traveling through some kind of a portal to come here, and they're traveling in these eggs.
Yep.
But we meet Anzu, and she appears the exact same way Hina did, only rather than somebody's apartment, she appears outside of a bar with a bunch of bikers.
Yes.
Oh, no, she appears in the middle of the road.
Middle of the road.
And
and when she comes out of there, she came with a can or something, and the can was able to pop the button on the back automatically. No. But she also landed with the small of her back on that can.
Yeah, she went, Yep. And already showing just how her luck is completely different from Hina's right away.
Yes.
It's a great introduction. But I don't think she came with the can. I'm pretty sure the can was there, and she just landed on it, and then landed on it a second time. So, okay. Yeah. Or something happened. Anyways.
I remember the can being airborne, and it might have been airborne because of something, but I may not have caught the exact order of events.
Yeah. But anyways, she then a biker gang, a Bosuzoku in Japan, they're called Bosuzoku, which is pretty much a wild animal tribe, is what they're called. A biker gang. They and that could be different between regions. In the region that I was in, they were called Bosuzoku. But they all stop and they start saying, "Hey, you dumb kid, get out of the road!
You're trying to get killed."
And she's like, "I need your clothing." And I was just like, oh! 2 Terminator references as close as that. I mean, if you're watching it 1 week at a time, yeah, it's a little bit off. But end of episode 1, beginning of episode 2, just right away another Terminator reference. And then, of course, they refuse. And then she just beats the crap out of them and takes their clothes, just like the Terminator does.
Yep.
So, I mean, she doesn't kill them. They all say "ouchie" again.
Yeah, it's just this cacophony of ouchie, ouchie, ouchie,
ouchie, ouchie, ouchie,
ouchie, ouchie, ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. It's just so good.
But yeah, episode 1 ends with the Terminator reference, and episode 2 starts with the Terminator reference. It's so great. Anyways, for those of you who don't know, Terminator 2 is the greatest action movie of all time. Fight me. Gosh.
John Wick.
John Wick's got nothing on Terminator 2. John Wick is amazing, don't get me wrong. But Terminator 2. Anyways. So what happens is that we learn that Anzu has been sent back from wherever she's sent back from to kill Hina. Because Hina's apparently gone rogue.
Yeah.
And so she goes to kill Hina, but she can't find Hina. And she ends up stealing
groceries
to live. And they are looking for this young woman. this young woman, Anzu, she's the same age as Hina. She's 13.
Yeah.
And she steals food to live, and they
and is able to run away very fast. And this happens over and over again, and progressively the Yakuza put up more and more barriers to try to catch her.
Well, it's not really the Yakuza. It's the
whatever gang they are.
No, they're not a gang. It's the shopping district. It's the employees of the shopping district, the people who own the stores. They're trying to stop her. So, but I'm pretty sure they have. I'm pretty sure
I thought that one bartender was associated with, or she just happens to be running a bar that.
She just happens to be running a bar that's in their territory.
That's in their territory. Okay.
Yeah, she's just running a bar in their territory. Okay. But she hates the cops for some reason. Because when someone says, "Why don't you just call the cops on her?" She's like,
"I'd rather bite my tongue off and spit it out,"
or something like that. She just
spits.
And she just spits on the ground. So yeah, she hates the cops for some reason, which they have not revealed yet.
Yes.
But anyways, well, I guess we can see why she would hate the cops in episode 3 because of some stunts that she pulls. But anyways, she, so Anzu is stealing food to live, but she doesn't know she's stealing. She doesn't know what money is.
Right.
So she's just taking what she needs. But she goes to a they're talking like before Nita. Sorry, I'm trying to get my order of events right here.
Right.
Before Nita meets her, he's in the bar at night, and they're talking about this kid who's going around and stealing things from the stores. And he's just like, and apparently she's just able to beat people up with her mind, like it's crazy. She doesn't even lift her finger, and he instantly starts going, oh crap! But then he learns that it's not Hina, because Hina's there with him.
Yeah. Hina spent the day with him playing video games.
Yeah, so it couldn't have been her.
And what video game were they playing where he had to yell into his controller to do things? I have no idea. But that's a Japanese thing. Like that was a thing you had to do in the original Japanese version of Legend of Zelda. Is that the likes were defeated by yelling at the controller? But that didn't port. That didn't port to the American version of it. But the instructions did port to the American controller.
Oh, jeez.
Like these things don't like sound, is what it said in the handbook. It's like, that's nice. What do we do about sound?
But they, I remember like we tried things like playing the recorder and stuff like that, and it never worked. So it was like that doesn't make any sense. But there's a game called Takeshi's Challenge. Takeshi Kitano, like a legendary filmmaker in Japan, made a bunch of Yakuza movies, and he was also in the amazing movie, Kikujiro.
Okay.
He made a video game called Takeshi's Challenge, and he hates video games, so he wanted to prove to people how stupid their hobby was, and this was back in the NES days. You had to sing karaoke for 3 hours. The button to talk to people is also the punch button, and if you accidentally punch them instead of talking to them, they don't talk to you. Ever. So Takeshi's Challenge is the name of the game. So, but anyways, he then thinks to himself, I guess Hina was pretty lucky, like ended up in my place and not on the streets like this other girl. I wonder what would have happened if she'd ended up somewhere else. And he's got this mental image of Hina just like marching through the streets, just like this massive Hina being like, "Bring me food," and then Nita says to his junior enforcer, he just says, I think I may have inadvertently saved the world. And he just goes, what? How? He never explains to them how he saved the world.
What a great line.
This show's just filled with great lines. Oh, I may have saved this nation without realizing it. How? But anyways, the next day, they're out to lunch, he and his junior again, and they're eating at this ramen place, and he runs into Anzu, and she's leaving without paying, and he decides to go ahead and pay for her, and she gets out, and he follows her around. He's hiding in a park.
He's hiding behind the bushes, behind a bench that she's sitting at the park.
And some punks from the gang that she beat up to get her clothes come and say, "That's our leader's jacket, give it back." And she's like, "Why?" And they come and they try to attack her, and she defeats them all without raising a finger by using her psychic powers. And then she says, "Do you guys know anybody named Hina?" And immediately it cuts back to Nita, and he just goes, "Ah!" Like, it's just kind of like, once again, they have such amazing, dramatic, humorous faces in this show. You have to see it.
It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
Oh gosh, they're so good.
One advertisement I saw for this show, I saw it on Facebook without realizing what the show was, but there was an advertisement for it, and it just showed the expression of a young girl behind the bar.
Oh gosh.
Turns out we're gonna find out more about this person, but the look on her face when somebody does something. The expressions alone are worth the show. It's fantastic.
So, and then he realizes this girl's looking for Hina, and so he gets the Yakuza to find out where this girl's living.
Yes.
And he then brings Hina once he finds where she is.
Now, what happens is an old man, old homeless man, was asked to see if he finds her, and if he does, report it, and then they'll pay him. And so he thinks, and so he accepts payment, but he's worried that he's selling a young girl to the Yakuza. I was like, guys, I promise it's not that dark of a reason.
It's like, I can't believe how far I've fallen letting you know about where that girl is. And the guy's just like, it's nothing that dark, we're just looking for her. Yeah. But anyways, he then brings Nita then brings Hina to Anzu.
So what happens is Anzu's sitting there trying to pump herself up. I can't just be living day to day. I've got to complete my mission. I have got to find Hina. And she goes marching up the hill. I'm going to find Hina. I'm going to find Hina. And then there's Hina.
And she says, and she says, it's Anzu. And she's like, I found you already. And they're about to get into Anzu wants to get into a fight, and Hina's just as emotionless as she always is. And Nita convinces them to not use their powers to just fight each other, but to do this competition.
He demands her, don't fight like this. You'll cause too much damage. Like, why should I listen to you? Because if you don't, she'll run away as fast as she can. Why? I'm going to give you this food.
Ikura. It's like,
Ikura, I will run away as fast as I can.
Yeah. Like, even before he has a finish to say, we're going to have Ikura tonight for dinner, Hina pops him and says, I'll run away as fast as I can.
Just immediately. I love that. It's so funny.
And he's like, well, and it just happens over and over and over again, where he whispers to Hina, we'll have Ikura tomorrow as well, and she's just like, what are you, chicken? Like saying it to Anzu.
Yeah. She repeats whatever taunts he's whispering in her ear, word for word, delivering it perfectly.
All for the promise of Ikura.
It's just this red fish egg topping on food.
She loves it, though. She thinks it's amazing. And bit by bit, Anzu gets more and more pissed, and she decides to go ahead and defeat her in this game. And it's a John Kempo. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, it's the Japanese version of rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
But there's usually a batsu game, a punish game, where at the very end they also do ai korosho, which is they point their finger in one direction. And if the other person, so the person who wins gets to point their finger in a random direction.
Yes.
And the person who lost has to turn their head in a direction that is not where the finger points. If they match, like say I point to my left and you look in the same direction, I then get to take a roll of newspaper and bop you on the head with it. Okay?
Right.
Well, in their version, they're trying to use their psychic powers to force you to look in that direction.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And Hina's...
And so Hina loses the first bout and says, look down. And suddenly
there's this psychic force pressure just... And you see Hina's face just manipulated and just all her flesh is being pulled down, but she's just taking it like it's nothing.
Yes.
And then she loses again.
And you'll notice that she does rock twice and loses to paper twice.
Mm-hmm.
And now look up.
And it's like
her hair starts flying, her face. Just hilarious.
And Nita tells him to stop for a moment because he's laughing too hard at Hina's face. He literally just bends over. His stomach is hurting too much, so he just literally leans over in laughter. And then finally, in the third round, Anzu's like, that's impossible. That's the strongest I can go, and it's not even affecting her. How strong is she? And then and then Hina wins the third round
because she still did rock. She did rock all 3 times, and Anzu made the mistake of doing scissors.
And then Hina turns her finger Same eye quota. Show turns her finger once, and you just hear this like this massive amount of pressure being built up.
They're playing this in a reservoir, so they're downhill, near a bridge, right by this
by a river.
By a river. A river, and the effect of what happens.
Oh my gosh. Like, Anzu is trying her absolute strongest to resist it, but within like half a second you just hear a snap and she goes, ah!
And the blast wave ricochets across the river, causing a 10-foot tall splash across the whole...
And an explosion in the stone on the other side. And he just went once.
One little finger.
And then Anzu's on the ground just crying out in pain because you hear the pop.
Yeah.
Okay?
There was an unwelcome chiropractic adjustment there.
And she's on the ground crying. And then Nita, talks to her and says, you lost, so you need to leave Hina alone. And she's just like, yeah, you're right, I did lose. But I've got to convince my superiors that Hina's dead. And so she rips out some of Hina's hair, and then Hina's on the ground. And no, she, it's not a couple of strands. She goes up to the side of her head and yanks off a chunk of her hair.
Yeah.
Painful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're talking skin came with that. We
Jeez.
don't see it, but that would be...
Yeah, no. But anyways, she...
And then Hina gets up and says, "Before you go, do you want to hang out?"
And so they play for the remainder of the day, and they play video games. They watch some shows. They eat dinner. They fall asleep. And Nita is talking about how
they do her laundry for her.
Yeah, they do her laundry for her. But Nita says I've become pretty good at taking care of kids. Mm. But we notice in the laundry that there's the red ball.
And there's a little bit of a sparkle.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of a sparkle. And so she then tries to go home. And
she said she's on her way out. She's leaving. Hina says, "Please come again." And Anju says, "How is that possible? I'm going to tell them that you're dead. I can't ever see you again." And she leaves. Mm-hmm. And that's when she discovers.
And then when she leaves and she goes to return home, the ball isn't working. And then she squeezes it a couple more times and a bunch of water comes out and the ball is short-circuited because it went into the wash.
And now she can't go back home.
She can't go back home. But she can't go back to Hina's because after what she just said. So she then ends up living on the streets. And
she's homeless again. Mm-hmm. And that's how the episode ends.
That's pretty much how...
Well, yeah, that was and thus she became homeless again. It was the ending shot.
That was the ending shot of the first half of episode 2.
Oh,
the way the show works.
Right.
Is that
there's more to it.
There seems to be there's multiple short adventures that happen in each episode.
Right, and the title of the episodes are that have a slash to them. So you have. Mm-hmm. You have a description of the event.
The second half has the girly bar parade.
The girly bar parade!
So, Nita is a known womanizer, and he has become pretty popular amongst, the hostess bars, and, he goes to this one bar with a beautiful bartender.
And he's
constantly asking her out and stuff.
Yep, and he goes to these bars where he gets these two hostesses.
A hostess club. Mm-hmm.
A hostess club comes in, and they spend the day talking to him, and he's sitting there between them. He's like, "We haven't seen much of you lately. We understand you're spending a lot of time with your daughter."
Well, he asks them, "You guys don't really call me over to visit anymore. Why is that?" And he's like, "Well, we heard rumors that you want to, you're spending less time with women like us because you want to spend more time with your daughter." And he's like, "It's true. A young girl like that can really change a man." And Nita's just like, no, this isn't impossible. No, I don't want to do this. And so, as soon as he gets home that night, rather than giving Hina a decent dinner, he gives her a can of fish, showers, and then goes out to party.
Yeah.
And he starts doing this over and over and over again.
It becomes a nightly ritual where she barely gets a can of fish.
Mm-hmm. And then finally she's fed up with it and just like, "I want to come with you." And he's like, no. And he runs for his life.
Yeah.
Because he knows that she has the power to kill him very, very easily.
Yes.
And he runs for his life and runs the entire way to the train station as fast as he can. And he gets to the train station and he gets to a train. And the door opens up and he sees Hina sitting there already. And the door just kind of closes and starts going, and he's just like, what a terrifying child. Just completely afraid of her. But he, so Hina is asked by her friend Hitomi at school, who's a very sweet girl, very good grades, just kind of that character archetype.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, hey, Hina, what's going on? You seem kind of down." And she's just like, and she starts just unloading, not really realizing you don't do that in Japanese society. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry into your family affairs." And Hina's like, "Hey, come with me. I'm trying to track down Nita." And she's like, okay, because she's sweet and has no way to back out with grace.
Yeah.
And so she,
this becomes the character's ongoing running gag of being put into situations that she can't get herself out of.
This poor girl. Anyways, I mean, nothing bad happens to her.
No,
but she gets put into situations that a 13-year-old girl should not find herself in. And
totally.
we'll get into that in the next into this episode actually.
Yes.
But she and Hina start following Nita.
Right.
And Hina's like, "I'm glad you're here. I really need the help to resist the temptation of this terrible place." And she's just like, "What are you talking about?" And she turns over, like, and suddenly Hina's gone. And she turns, she's like, "Hina, where are you?" And she turns, she sees Hina just like unable to control herself as she's walking over to a sweet stand. And she's like, I understand what you mean by dangerous now. So she drags her along, and they lost track of Nita. And so they say, well, let's go. And Hina's like, let's go where he usually goes. And they go to the bar where, he flirts with the bartender and stuff. I've got her name written down. Let me go and pull up the bartender's name. Utako. Utako is the bartender.
Right.
Anyways, Utako isn't there. And so he's like, "Oh, I guess she's not here." And he told me, he's like, "Well, it's because there was like a sign out front saying that the store was being prepared." And she's like, he told me, "Go ahead and wait here. I'm going to go ahead and go out and search for him some more." And she's just like, "What? No, okay." And then Hina leaves, and moments later, a drunk regular shows up and instantly starts treating Hitomi as the new bartender. And Hitomi, being too sweet to say, "No, I'm not, you're wrong," and then just leave, ends up bartending and being taught how to make drinks by this drunk old man. Not because he's a lech, but because he wants drinks. Anyways, we cut to, don't know how much later it is, but it's a while. And Hina has forgotten to go look for Nita and she's sitting in a park eating takoyaki. And then Utako shows up. And they start talking, and she's like, "Oh, so you just want to spend more time with Nita?" She's like, "Yeah, I want to spend time with him." After, nightfall and stuff, they finally go to the bar, and there's several regulars in the bar right now ordering drinks, all from Hitomi, who has already taken on this persona. While she's just in her regular street clothes, she's taken on this persona of being, a kind and a bartender who just listens to everything people say to her. And Utako's just like, "Who are you, and why are you behind my bar?" But Nita shows up as well. And that's when Hina says, or Utako, gosh, what's her name again? I got it wrong. Utako says, "Go ahead and tell him." And she's like, "I want to go to a girly bar with you." And he's like, "Wait, what? What?" And the drunk patrons are just like, "Yeah, why not?" Nita's drunk already too. And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And so Hina, Nita, Utako,
and the
two drunks, and Hitomi,
You told me.
are all walking down the street chanting "Girly bar, girly bar."
In
girly
public,
bar,
everybody's
girly
singing.
bar.
Everybody's chanting, arms flying up in the air. They're just doing this parade dance. They're half drunk, and the only person saying nothing, arms to her side, wondering how this even happened. At the end of the procession,
Is Hitomi.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go in, and him being drunk and being excited about spending time with, doing things that he loves to do with Hina. Nita gets convinced to do some very, very stupid, expensive things, like ordering a champagne tower from a completely different bar because the one he's at doesn't actually offer that. He, and then as they're celebrating and having a great time and like throwing Hina up and down, Hitomi gets a call from her mom, and it's like, "Do you know what time it is? Where are you right now?" And she, being an honest girl, just says, "I'm at a girly bar." And her mom's like, "Don't you make up stories like that. You come home right now." You know? So, yeah. So that episode ends with Nita having a bill for 2.5 million yen for that one night. That's $25,000 for one night at this hostess club. The girly bar, they call it.
Yeah, they decided to order a champagne...
The champagne tower.
Champagne tower. And that'll do it right there.
$25,000
for
in
one
a
night.
Single night.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't even imagine.
We're gonna have to live frugally for a little while.
Yeah, once he wakes up, and Hina's obviously ecstatic as Hina can be, meaning her eyes are wider, and there's like an aura of happiness about her, but her expression's still the same. And she's like, "I had a great time last night. We should do it again soon." And he takes a look at the bill and just goes, "We're going to be living frugally for a little while." So that's episode 2.
It's great. It's great.
Episode 3, let's just,
Okay, the first part of episode 3 features Anzu and the old man who sold her out before. She ends up on the street with him again, and he finds her and takes her to the commune that he lives at with other homeless people.
She's being pursued by the store owners and stuff, and they've set up a fairly clever trap, and she's not using her powers to get away because she doesn't want Hina to know that she's still around.
Right.
So, but then the old man comes and helps her get away, and then takes her to the homeless commune and teaches her how to make money as a homeless person.
How to sell cans, aluminum and steel cans, how to fish for spare change out of vending machines or under vending machines and things of that nature. And while she's on one of her trips doing that by herself, guess who she runs into?
Nita.
And Nita, seeing her and not believing her when she says that she's having the time of her life and this is exactly what she wants to do.
And that she is just killing time. And he says, "That's some pretty high level time killing." But yeah, he doesn't believe her, and so he offers her 40,000 yen, which is $400. He's like, "This is all I've got on me right now." And she initially turns it down, but as he's driving away, she then realizes that she can use that money to really help out the people at the commune. And so she runs down after the car, and she gets the money from him. And she gets the money from him, and she bows and just keeps bowing as he drives off. Right. And then she stands up. She gets grabbed by Utako, and Utako takes the money from her and gives her about $6 in change.
Yeah, because
that's how much she stole from
the community of shops.
Yep. And so she goes back to the commune in tears because she was so excited to be able to buy things for these people, like food and stuff, thinking that they could all use it. And they're just like, "Oh, we would have just spent the money on booze anyways, but it's really the thought that counts. Thank you,"
Yeah.
And do what they can to cheer her up. But they don't accept her at first when she first joins the commune.
No,
that's just jumping ahead a little bit. But they accept her after she sings for them.
So what happened was she scrounged up some money, and then she bought some sake. At least she thinks she bought some sake for them, and then brought it to them.
She made a little less than 700 yen in her entire first day of collecting cans.
Right. And then they go out and buy some sake, bring it with them, and then she's not even offered any, and she's kind of ostracized. She thinks she bought it, and there's an altercation because, and then they eventually explain to her each of these bottles cost 2,000 yen a piece,
about $20 a piece.
So you may have contributed, but how much did he actually put forward into it?
He covered the rest for you.
Yeah. And so it's just a realization that she didn't do as much as she thinks she did for the community. And then she's asked a couple times to sing a song for them, and she refuses at first. And then she's like, "Do you know?" Then the kind old man who had befriended her at the beginning is like, "Do you even know any songs?" She says, "I know one." And she starts to sing.
And
she starts to do what's called
worse than the main character in Magical Girl Ore. It's painful.
Okay, so what she's doing isn't, I cannot in good judgment call it
It's yelling
singing.
in pitch.
It's screaming. She is screaming a song at them about a wolf who kills a deer, nom nom nom, and kills a pig, nom nom nom, nom 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 nom. I'm full. That's the lyrics of the song, basically.
And they're all in tears, and it's because she reminded them of their grandchildren, their tone-deaf grandchildren singing songs, and she's invited into the community. But anyways, so that's kind of her, like, she and again, the kind old man, after the incident where she gets the $400 taken from her, the 40,000 yen, he says, "Yeah, but it's great that you were able to pay them back, isn't it? And now you can go ahead and just start over as a homeless person without having any worries at all." And so that's how she starts off. And then after that, we get to the next part of the episode.
Now, bear in mind, there is a scene in the opening credits where she puts on an apron. And so we think that that she will be progressing through the show.
Yes.
Just from the opening credit information.
The opening credits kind of show what happens to the characters over the course of the show. And
where she gets the money being taken from her.
You see the money getting taken from her in the opening credits. And you think that maybe she's getting mugged or something horrible is happening because she starts crying afterwards and you kind of feel horrible. Yeah. But really she did it to herself. Like,
she did.
There's several times where there's characters crying in the credits. And every time it's because it's something they did to themselves and now they're facing the consequences of it.
Okay.
So, except for one character, and then that character just got barely introduced into episode 8. But anyways, she one thing that I really like about the show is that Nita, even though he's Yakuza, it shows that he's a good man, and it's because that he's started taking care of Hina that these good man tendencies are really coming out for him. So I really like that about the show. But the next part of the episode is where we see what happens to poor Hitomi, where poor Hitomi is now pretty much being forced. She's getting paid for it. She's getting paid 1,500 yen an hour, but she's being forced to be a bartender.
She is. She ends up having a meeting with what's her name? Utako. Sorry. So yeah, she ends up having a meeting with Utako, and Utako blackmails her, showing her a photo on her phone saying, what would your school say?
What happens is that she gets her uniform.
Yes.
Like a bartender uniform, which is like a suit. It's a three-piece suit.
It's like a vest. It's like a vest tuxedo.
Yeah, it's like a vest with the tie, white dress shirt, and slacks and shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And she says, "No, I don't want to do this. I'm just a middle schooler. I can't be a bartender." And then Utako says, "Really? What will happen if your school sees this photo?" And it's a photo of her behind the bar in this uniform.
In the uniform, yeah.
And Hitomi just goes, "Ugh, no!" And again, it's one of those great scenes where their faces just contort and there's all these amazing shadows and stuff.
Yes.
And she just says, and Utako's like gloating, saying that she's won and now you have to do this. And then Hitomi pulls out her phone and presses play. And she's recorded the conversation. And Utako goes, "Ah!" because it's counter blackmail. So, and in the conversation, it just says, "Please, you have to work for me." She's like, "No, I just put on the uniform because you asked me to. That's it. I'm not working here." And Utako's just like, "I've learned my lesson. you and I, how about we just go ahead and delete the files that we have on each other, and we'll just, we'll call it good. And he told me just like, oh, okay. And then 1, 2, 3, they both hit delete. And he told me he's just like, so can I just change out of this now? And then suddenly you see he told me he's just go, huh? Get all afraid, and it cuts up, and you just see this dominating leer from Utako. And Utako just says, I backed up the photo on my computer before deleting it on my cell phone. And you just hear Hitomi scream. And so and so the next scene is like, and that's how I became a bartender. Yeah. And she's making drinks, and she's really good at it too. Like, she's really good at mixing these drinks, better than the actual owner and bartender of the bar.
Yeah. Cut to a superintendent and a teacher talking about...
I think it's the vice principal.
The vice principal, and the teacher saying, I'm going to petition to have you named head teacher.
The vice principal is sloshed. He can't stand because of how drunk he is. And the teacher says, it's time for us to go home. You can barely stand. And the vice principal says, what are you talking about? The night's barely begun. Let's go ahead and party. Besides, I'm planning on pushing for you to be head teacher next year. And the teacher's like, please, let's continue. Let's party, Yes. And so they go to the bar, and this teacher, it turns out he's Hitomi's teacher.
Yes.
And Hitomi recognizes him, and he recognizes her, and Hitomi tries to do this crazy face-bending thing where she's like, twisting her mouth and trying to look like somebody completely different, but obviously it isn't working.
No.
But they, I
think this is one of my students.
And the vice principal says, well, that's too bad, because if one of your students was bartending, you could kiss your position as head teacher goodbye. Oh, she's not my student. She just looks exactly like one of my students. People like that exist, Besides, if she was my student, she wouldn't be able to make this drink, would she? And he requests a special drink. He's like, oh, by the way, I've been drinking hardcore since my college days, so I know what I like. And Hitomi's just, and the drunks, the regulars who get drinks from Hitomi all the time, they're just like, sir, I'm pretty sure you're going to be surprised. And then it shows Hitomi expertly crafting this cocktail for him, shaking it up in the ice and stuff.
Yeah, well stirred ingredient at a time.
She makes the two separate drinks for him.
The stirring is a second drink. Yeah.
So she does the shaking drink first, and he's like, oh, this is great. It's a fantastic drink. He loves it. And he's like, but I don't see your fingers being calloused from stirring, so I bet you don't have the talents to stir. And then the drunks and the bartender start laughing. And Hitomi's just like, please order another drink. And he's like, I order this drink, and I don't remember the names of the drinks.
I think it's called the bartender.
I think, it's probably the bartender.
Yeah, he orders a drink called the bartender.
And she makes this drink, and she starts stirring it again expertly. And she pours him to him in a cup, hands it to him.
Yep.
And he just said, and he drinks it, and again, it's fantastic. He's like, this is incredible. You're able to stir that well without any calluses. And Hitomi just says, actually, I've been stirring so much they fell off. Yeah. So Hitomi becomes a bartender through blackmail, and she ends up being really good at it.
She ends up being so good she couldn't possibly be a middle schooler because she is way too talented at what she's doing, and no middle schooler can make drinks like this.
And anyways, the end of the episode follows up with Hina learning that Anzu is still around and living on the streets. And Nita just pretty much says, I wonder what would happen if your roles were reversed. And
then she starts imagining that Hanzu is coming out. What?
Anzu and Nita.
Sorry, Anzu and Nita. Nita and Anzu are coming out of the of this fancy restaurant. She's draped over his arm. Oh, I love sweets. Thank you so much. And then there's poor Hina, homeless, disheveled, dirty, spare change, anything helps, God bless. Cardboard sign. It's just, and then she wakes sit up bolt from a nightmare. I can't be homeless. I've got to secure this position I have.
And so she tries to clean his apartment. But...
She's extra nice. She's polite. She says goodbye to him as he's leaving out the door, and that starts to set him off a bit. What is this weirdness? And she decides, she is going to make his apartment so sparkly clean that he will weep tears of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to start having never cleaned before in her life.
And she destroys the place.
So the first thing she does is she plugs in this vacuum cleaner.
Well, we don't have to go through everything that she does.
Well,
but...
I just okay. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go through everything, but this one thing is like she's vacuuming. She's not paying attention to what she's doing. She goes too far. She unplugs the vacuum cleaner. It stops, and she throws the handle down in frustration.
Yeah, and then she starts dusting things, and she starts knocking over the vases.
Yes.
So she catches one vase, but then accidentally knocks over another one, catches that one with her powers, and forgets she has the other one, and the other one just smashes to the ground. So
I will clean that later.
Yep.
And she just causes more devastation. I think my favorite is when she decides she's going to dust a blanket by putting it over the banister and loses grip on it, and she just watches this blanket flutter away.
Which is so sad because she has the power to catch it and bring it back, but she doesn't do anything. It's just going. But she ends up destroying the. Long story short, she ends up destroying his apartment again.
She does.
And what happens?
Well, the door. What's his name again?
Nita.
Nita is going, oh, I really should praise her. He buys groceries and goes, I really should praise her. Oh, never mind. We won't talk about that. She finds the fish eggs and starts eating the bowl and gives herself a tummy ache of just eating the fish eggs by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
well,
but he's coming.
She also doesn't do the proper things to clean them. She just eats them straight.
Eats them straight from the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
she finds it in a bowl labeled "Reward for Hina." Yeah. Rewards for Hina, and she's like, "Well, I've worked pretty hard. I should reward myself." She just starts eating the
spoonfuls of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a topping for other food. She just
mm-hmm.
Anyway, but no, he's coming home. He's got groceries, and thinks to himself, "I should praise her. She deserves to be praised more often." And he opens the door and says, "I'm home." End.
That's the end of the episode.
The next episode is titled.
You gonna pull it up real fast so you can see what the title is?
Yeah.
Long story short, the next episode she gets kicked out because she destroyed his apartment.
I think it's eviction. I think eviction or
Hina's eviction. Something like that?
Either eviction or disownment is the title of the next episode.
Disownment. So she gets kicked out the very next episode because of what she does for.
Yeah, I saw. I did manage to catch the first clip of the episode before the opening credits rolls, where he just goes, "What have you done to my apartment? I disown you. Get out."
It's like he kicks her out, and so the next episode is Hina, who was desperately trying to show that she's useful and doesn't want to get kicked out because she is terrible at cleaning and just makes messes with whatever she tries, gets kicked out. Yep, no, that's so that's the first 3 episodes of Hinamatsuri. So do you think you're going to keep watching it?
I think so. It's adorable.
It's great.
The poster for it is actually the all the faces.
Yeah,
in the fish
Ikura.
eggs.
Mm-hmm. So when you see the poster for it, there's orange orbs or red orbs, whatever color tint your monitor is. Orangish red orbs.
Yeah.
And that's Ikura, and there's the characters' faces are in it.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah, so I love it. I watched the first 3 episodes again just for this, but they've got 8 episodes posted on Crunchyroll, and I've watched all 8. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend the show to people. It's a great, just relaxing laugh, just kind of a silly, carefree anime.
Yeah.
There are stakes, but the stakes are just it's never really present. I mean, every once in a while they remind you about the stakes. Mm-hmm. There's this one character who comes to this period, trying to see what happened to Hina, and tries to report back and saying that if Hina has remained the way she was, which is just a terrible, horrible person, Hina doesn't need to get brought back. We can just leave her where she is. If a single one of these answers, and it's like 100 questions, if any one of those is a no, they're willing to leave Hina behind because of how terrible Hina is. But she goes through these 100 questions and realizes that she's had to answer yes for every single one of them, and now she's required to bring Hina back.
Oh, sad.
So, anyways, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but that's just a tiny bit of what happens later on. It's just a great show. I highly recommend it. I'm glad we got to watch it and talk about it here, and I hope that our listeners appreciate it. If you have any comments about the show, if you've seen it, or if it's piqued your interest, you can catch it on VRV or on Crunchyroll.
Yep.
I watched it on Crunchyroll. You watched it on VRV.
Yeah,
on
and
Verve.
Verve. I pronounce it Verve, I think, but I've never actually heard it pronounced, so I just guessed. But yeah. So,
with that, that's the end of our 3 episodes in. What show are we gonna watch next week?
Next week, so I was browsing around looking for a show to watch, and I came across a show that it turns out we have a mutual friend who absolutely loves this show.
Well, she loves the manga. But yeah,
But it's called How to Keep a Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know much about it, but the poster looked cute, and let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot for next week. And I haven't seen that one, so I won't be able to spoil anything later on. So next week, it's going to be How to Keep a Mummy. And with that, that's it for 3 episodes in. Let's move on to Recommendation of the Week.
All right, now this Recommendation of the Week is absolutely fantastic. It's my choice this time, and I'm picking the old cartoon series Freakazoid. Now, something that has stuck with me about this show for so long is the last episode. Our father has a workshop and has had for many, many years.
Oh gosh.
And we've sat down and we've watched for countless days, watched the new Yankee Workshop with Norm Abram.
Mm-hmm.
Norm Abram,
woodworking show on PBS back in the day.
Norm Abram made an appearance in the last episode of Freakazoid as himself.
Mm-hmm. And they threatened him. They threatened him, like, they forced him to make this massive horn. I forget what it was for. But like,
some weapon of mass destruction.
To create an avalanche or something. And but it had to be perfect. It had to be made out of a single piece of wood in order for it to work properly. And so they needed the world's best woodsman, so they kidnapped Norm Abram.
Yes.
And in order to get him to do it, they found this massive brick of completely uncut wood. I think it may have been mahogany.
It's just the most beautiful block of wood.
And they're like, I'll never help you, you monsters. And Norm Abram actually did the voice.
Yes, he did.
Norm Abram did the voice for this character. And one of the guys, and the villain who's trying to get Norm Abram to do the Lobe, he's just his head is a massive brain with eyes and a mouth.
Yeah.
But he takes this chainsaw and he's bringing it closer and closer to this beautiful piece of mahogany.
Stop! I'll do it, you monster!
I'll do it, you monster! And so the show's hysterical. It's
just wonderful.
Late 90s humor.
Same era as shows like Animaniacs and Tiny Toons, and but it's.
I would call him a G-rated, maybe PG-rated Deadpool.
PG Deadpool, yeah. He's aware that he's a superhero. He's aware he's a cartoon character.
He's a cartoon character. Mm-hmm.
He's just absolutely brilliant, and
he gained his superpowers by being sucked into the internet. So he's a product of the internet of the late 90s.
He's a product of a cat walking across an internet keyboard in the late 90s.
Oh, just a keyboard, and then he pressed delete, and it sucked him into the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, it smells like poo gas in here. What do you call poo gas in Scotland? Crud vapors.
Crud vapors. Oh,
poo gas is a running joke in that show.
Yes,
so.
But do you know who Cosgrove, the cop, is played by?
Named
Ed Asner.
No way.
Yes.
Hey, Freakazoid. Want to go get some milkshakes? Do I? Oh, then as they're eating milkshakes, oh, Freakazoid, by the way, the Lobe has this message for you. He's kidnapped your girlfriend again. What? Cosgrove, why didn't you lead with that?
It's such a great show. But the amazing Ed Asner, who was the voice of the old man in Up.
Gosh, yeah, no. Yeah, I will go ahead and throw my recommendation behind Freakazoid as well, because that show is a classic, and it's on VRV.
It is.
It's on VRV, so go ahead and give it a watch if you have a VRV subscription. I'm pretty sure you can watch it even without a subscription.
Yeah.
So, I own it on DVD, so I don't have to worry about that. But anyways, okay, so I guess that's it for our recommendation of the week.
And now it's time for our creator shout-out. This week it is your turn,
My
Andrew.
turn for the creator shout-out. And I thought a lot about this, but I wanted to go ahead and give a shout-out to Matthew Colville.
Okay.
Matthew Colville is an author and a DM, and he's got a YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
And his YouTube channel is always talking about kind of the rules and things that he does for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And he had this amazing video about how to run your villain.
Okay.
And real fast, Matthew Colville was also the author for the Vox Machina comics.
Oh.
Okay. He's so that's how I first learned about him.
Okay.
But he in this video, he talks about how your villains, in order to strike fear into the heart of your players, need to be able to break the rules of Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And I mean, like, by the time they are level, your characters are level, 18, something like that, they're completely unstoppable killing machines. Like, nothing can stop them. So in order to even give them a challenge, you have to have something that's going to break the rules. When, at the end of the first campaign of Critical Role, when the party went up against Vecna, who had become a god at that point, at the time he cast Meteor Swarm 3 times. Meteor Swarm is a level 9 spell. Even at level 20, no player character can have more than one level 9 spell. And the party started freaking out when the third one came out. And they're like, no, what are you doing? That's a third level 9 spell. And Matt Mercer just said, he's a god. He has more than one level 9 spell. So being able to break the rules and stuff like that to give your party a challenge. And another one of the things he said was that in one of his games, he gave his villain the ability to turn any of the characters who had fallen unconscious in combat into a revenant or into a zombie, something that an undead creature, and that would fight for him. But he gave the players a saving throw. And so the first time it happened, when one of the characters fell unconscious in battle, this villain pointed at one of the characters and made the player do a saving throw. And thankfully, the player saved. Okay, so the player didn't lose his character. But the rest of the party just went, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. We cannot go unconscious because this guy can do something to us, and we don't want to see what that is. Okay?
Nice.
So, and it's just an ability he gave him, an ability that doesn't exist anywhere in the rules. So, in order to give your characters a challenge, in order to give them, or your players, a challenge, you need to know when and how to properly break the rules.
Right.
So, you have to follow,
the rules
not the rules.
The rules, this just happens to be true for virtually anything. The rules exist for a reason. Knowing the reasons give you the ability to break them.
But yeah, no. So I've been watching his videos on YouTube. He's a great writer. He's got a couple of books, and I plan on picking them up when I get the chance. But yeah, I highly recommend Matthew Colville. So give his channel a chance on YouTube.
Sounds good.
Okay, I think that's it for this week.
I just want to make one final announcement. WhittakerWeekly.com is live.
We have been holding off on announcing this because we wanted to make sure that we had a backlog. We know that there's a lot of podcasts out there that just start and just kind of fizzle out. But we wanted to go ahead and make sure that we had enough content to show you guys that we are really dedicated to this and we're going to be doing this every week.
Right.
So
now I'm a web developer in my day job, and I was able to, in my spare time, put together the design and execute on it. And as of this moment, WhittakerWeekly.com is live. And we've got 10 episodes on there right now, and as soon as we're done recording this, we will have 11 episodes on there.
Yeah, this will be episode 11. It's going to be going up on WhittakerWeekly.com. I'm going to be tweeting it out. I'm going to be texting friends. So I've been telling them about the show. They're really, really excited for us to have the website going.
Fantastic.
And again, the best thing that we can do is word of mouth. If you guys enjoyed this show, we don't really have the budget to advertise or anything like that.
No.
But if you guys enjoyed this show, go ahead and just spread the word of it. We'd very much appreciate that. And if you have any shows you'd like to recommend or any creators you'd like us to shout out to, go ahead and send us a tweet. The website's going to have contact information for us. You can email us. You can Twitter us. My Twitter handle is ADWhittaker. And the Whittaker has 2 T's in it, just so you know.
My Twitter handle, exclusively for the show, is W Weekly Lee.
W Weekly Lee. Okay, yeah. So mine is AD Whittaker, and it's just my normal Twitter. It's also, I use it for writing and tweeting out and chatting with people.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and reach out to us. Let us know if there's any creators you'd like us to give a shout out to, any recommendations, or even just recommendations for shows you'd like us to go ahead and give a 3 episodes in on.
Right. So we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, and that's it for this week. I've been Andrew.
I've been Lee.
And this is Whittaker Weekly. Have a great week.